Robin, I'll start.
You're good to go.
Thank you, Rob. I'll call the meeting to order. The second item on the agenda is election of chair and vice chair. And Madam Clerk, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Because we actually haven't had committee appointments at the council level yet, that happens tomorrow. If it's okay with the accessibility committee, we'd like to move that to the first meeting in January. So we'll elect a chair and a vice chair at the first meeting in January, once the Grey County Council appointment has been endorsed at the county level. Is everyone all right with that?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe so. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. And back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. A declaration of peculiar interest. You can clear any time you see fit during the meeting. Moving on to the agenda, we're down to site plan reviews. And the first one is a parking lot. And I believe, Stephanie, you're going to take this on. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to share my screen to show you the site plan. Oops. There we are. So this is a proposed new parking lot. It's to accommodate users and visitors to the Guelph County Forest, which forms part of the larger Guelph uplands. So it's located just off of Gray Road 2, as well as the Osprey Blue Mountains town line, and access to the parking lot will be off the Osprey Blue Mountains town line. The purpose of this parking lot is intended to serve visitors again to this property. And the property today houses a lot of different facilities for various recreational use types. And so hiking, cross-country skiing in the wintertime, just nature appreciation, no motorized uses in this area. At this stage, the parking lot is to remain gravel. However, we have had discussions around potentially paving this parking lot. There will be 23 spots available for vehicles. In the wintertime, that's likely going to be reduced just because of snow clearing space. And then on the bottom left-hand corner, there's going to be a space there, which we're hoping to situate a bench as well as signage and potentially a garbage receptacle, just to have as a resting spot for people to convene prior to or after their hike. So that's my short, brief presentation. And if anyone has any questions or recommendations in terms of accessibility provisions, happy to hear.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Kathy, I'm going to ask you a question. The drawing that was put up by the parking lot, I'm just wondering, how do all our members see that drawing? I'm thinking it's not, we're talking, but we're not being able to let all the committee look at it. You understand what I'm saying?
Totally. So that's why we've, after, I think it was the last meeting, decided to have descriptive reports that come with the drawings or the site plans to try to give a picture with words of what we're looking at. And so Steph did that, and she described the location and the parking lot surface and the bench signage and garbage in there. So even though people with low vision may not be able to see the drawing, they can still get a sense of what the project is and provide good input from their perspective on what would be helpful for accessibility.
On that drawing, I didn't see, unless I missed it, indicate on there, Stephanie, about handicap parking spaces and so on. Can you confirm that? Because I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. Chair. If the parking lot is going to stay gravel, there is no way to specifically delineate the parking spaces, and so there won't be any paint markings in that parking lot. However, if we are going to proceed with paving that parking lot, definitely, yeah, we'll make sure that there are accessibility spaces that are specifically delineated, as well as the size of them are accommodated to meet AODA standards.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm going to turn it over to questions from the committee. Is there any questions from the committee?
I have one.
Go ahead, Brooke.
Hi, when you were describing it, you said that there is a possibility of a garbage. Could we make it that there absolutely is going to be a garbage? I'm a service dog user, so taking my dog, well, in my case, dogs on a hike with me is really something that's going to happen. So knowing that there is a garbage for me to carry and dispose of their waste is it's important. And I think if we want the trails and stuff to remain clean, that we actually have to put more, like, having garbages is extremely important, and making sure that they're highly visible to everybody. Otherwise, people are they might pick up after their dog, but they'll just kind of leave it anywhere because they can't find a garbage.
Good points. Thank you, Brooke. Stephanie, I think you got that information.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Brooke. And yeah, the reason why I was a bit vague as to whether or not there will be a garbage is it will likely not fall under the responsibility of the county. And so I just didn't want to hold another jurisdiction's hands to making sure that that amenity is provided. But yeah, I can certainly convey that and communicate to those that will be part of this project to make sure that yeah, it's at least considered and we look at best options to incorporating that facility.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there any other questions from the committee? Yeah, Kathy, go ahead. You're muted.
Sorry, Stephanie mentioned about the bench, and I did shoot her an email today that has some input from, I guess a couple of years ago, Don Tedford gave me a book from the CSA that was accessible design for the built environment. And there was a portion of that referred to benches or seat areas for location, for height, for, well, there was a few different parameters about that. So I excerpted that bit and I forwarded it to Stephanie. So she has that for the bench consideration. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy, I'll ask you a question. That are we at this time just going to accept this as information for now? Or do we need any more information, like a motion to accept the drawing and so on?
I don't think we need a motion because it was for review and comment, and the notes will be in the minutes. I think if Stephanie is good with that, then that should probably suffice, I would think.
Okay. And I see Stephanie smiling, so I think it's okay. So there's no other questions from the committee. I'll move on to the agenda. We're down to reports. The first one is Great Holland's Accessibility Compliance Report. Debbie, you're going to take this on, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The accessibility report is attached for your purview. As you'll see on the last page, we are not fully compliant, and we're not fully compliant for the reason we do not have our own joint accessibility, so we don't have our own accessibility advisory committee. And Kathy, if my recollection is correct, we do have approval to remain part of the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee at the lower tier level. So I'm not sure how the government's going to handle these non-compliance for that reason. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Kathy, I see your hands up. Do you have any comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's okay for you to say that yes, to answer yes to that and keep your comment, which provides the clarity that it's the joint committee. you didn't form it, but you're part of it. So I think their question was a little bit off.
Yeah,
And I do have one other thought on the progress report. No, not the progress report.
the compliance report.
What was it? Oh, yeah. So 14.2, information and communication standards.
Yes.
Are you guys, you're good with that one? Because
You're not, I know. I read your report. According to our IT people, we are.
that's good. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any questions on Deb's report from the committee? Seeing none, I see head shaking no, so again, Kathy, we going to accept this for information, or should we pass a motion to accept it?
I think Tara has a resolution ready for that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Tara. Can you read it, please?
Sure. That the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee supports the Municipality of Grey Highlands 2021 Accessibility Compliance Report.
Okay, thank you. Can I have someone to move to put on the floor, please? Moved by Andy.
I can second it.
Thank
It's
you,
Brooke.
Brooke. Thank you, Brooke. If there's no discussion on the motion before us, I guess I'm just going to ask verbally, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm in favor, so it carries. Okay, so I'll move on to agenda. We're down to Grey Highlands 2021 Progress Report. Debbie, please go ahead.
Yes. I'm hopeful that the committee has had the opportunity to read the report. As you'll see, we did quite a bit of work for AODA in the last year and a bit. We updated the front counter and lobby space with accessibility in mind. I believe this committee reviewed those plans. So thank you again. It's lovely. Our staff and the public actually love it. With the lower desk to service persons that perhaps have are in wheelchair, have limited mobility, it's working really well. We've increased our online services. Our IT department is continuously working on information and communications, making sure that it's accessible. We are constantly getting reminded to do that. So I'm really pleased with the work that we do internally on information and communication. And you'll see there is a line in here that we have accessible audio and video streaming in our council chambers. I think most municipalities now have that, and they were forced to do that during the pandemic. For us, though, we already put that in place pre-pandemic with accessibility in mind, and it's working well. HR, we have converted our forms, and HR has a lot of forms, into fillable forms. So we're trying to make it easier for people to complete whatever it is they have to complete. HR forms, burn permit forms, just trying to make it a lot easier for people. Our building permit system is now on iCloud. It's called iPermit. It's fully accessible, which is awesome, that members of the public can access and apply for planning and building permits remotely, which is awesome. They don't have to come into the office and make the travel. For the employment standard, I send out to all of the employees upon hire a request to understand what accessibility needs they may have, to put an accommodation plan in place for them. If there is nothing, they don't return the form to me. However, whatever is sent back, of course, we work with the employee to make sure that they have access to emergency procedures. Our job offers, we talk right in our job offers and the interviewing process about accessibility and accommodations we made at every step. I mean, this is not new. This has been required for a number of years, but we really promote that and support that. What else are we doing here? Transportation. We don't have any transportation. Design a public space. No, thank you, Kathy, for giving me some real-time feedback on this. We did bring some things to the committee, which is awesome. And thank you, committee members, for giving us feedback. Based on this report, Kathy's outlined some things that we did not bring to the committee, which we should have done. There's a number of sidewalks that were updated in that time period, 2020, 2021. And I understand, and I always understood it should have been brought to this committee. However, we all need buy-in from the very top to get this part of the process. So even though I often say to senior management team, do you have anything for me to take to joint health and safety? Not joint health, the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, I often hear, no, we don't. So it's education for them, which I'm trying to continue educating. Yes, that is a public space. Yes, that should have gone. So I truly appreciate the comments, because Kathy, when you sent me that email this morning, I forwarded that email to senior management team and said, it needs to be on the agenda for our next SMT meeting, which is tomorrow, because I can't do this alone. I need support from all members of senior management team to make sure every accessibility issue gets brought, that is relevant, gets brought to this committee. One of the issues that I have heard is that with the committee meeting infrequently, there is concern that's going to delay plans. And I think we just need to build it into our process. And I know that this committee has looked at preliminary plans before they become final plans. So I really want to involve the committee earlier on, but as I said, I can't do this alone, and it is on the agenda for tomorrow at SMT. So my apologies on that. All the other things that we've done are great. You know, we did the community improvement plans, looking for accessible renovations in our small businesses. So we're pretty active out there in the community. We have 7 projects with accessibility components. Kathy, you have your hand up. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Kathy.
So just speaking to the frequency of the meetings, it's the committee's goal to not be the bottleneck on projects. We're prepared to, do our best to schedule a meeting when one is needed for any of the projects.
Okay, so through the chair to Kathy, thank you for that, Kathy, and thank you to the committee. I will discuss that with SMT tomorrow and say that the committee is not going to be the bottleneck if we have plans. And I'm not sure how much you all know about Grey Highlands, but we are actually booming. We have many housing developments going in. We have a new hospital. We have a new school that will be being built. Excuse me. So we have a lot of development. Now, we had the Foodlands, we had Tim Hortons. And so in my mind, even though these are not public spaces that are owned by the municipality, they're still public spaces. This is where lies confusion for me, is do I bring the Tim Hortons plan to this committee? It's private. It's not public, but public access it. So help me understand.
Dev, I believe that your building department will take a big responsibility for these private things like Foodland and so on, to make sure they are up to speed with accessibility and so on. So I believe your building department will look after that part of. Am I not correct in saying that, Kathy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do believe so. And then there were the specific site plans that this committee did resolve, and it was supported by Grey County Council, that they shall bring forward the ones that are public spaces, like truly public spaces. So the school would be one of those. So that one will have to come. Sidewalks is just in the legislation. So, I mean, there's to review the whole legislation to come up with all the requirements is tricky. So if you look at that report that I sent you in this morning's email that we did in 2020, that one does have a pretty solid overview of the things that we're legislated to do, that we just have to do.
Okay, Thank you. And so that would mean the hospital must come. Okay, I'm all over it.
Kathy, just a point, when we get these bigger drawings coming through, like for instance, let's pick on the hospital, it's going to be very difficult bringing stuff like that to a committee so we can make sure all our members understand what they're trying to review. So we really have to make sure we relay that to who's ever bringing the drawings.
Yeah, thanks, Dwight. That's a great point. And Debbie, if you wouldn't mind to, well, all of the local municipal participants, if you could share with your anybody who's got a submission to bring forward, to add to it the report with the verbal descriptions as best as they can, and then to invite the planner or the chief building official or whoever is involved with the project to come to the meeting, because I think that way is the most meaningful, because then they hear what the concerns are and then they have a better understanding. And it just, from what I've seen so far with my time on this committee or with this committee, those relationship building pieces are making a difference. And I know it's challenging because visual impairment makes it a challenge to look at site plans. Lack of knowledge on site plans makes it hard to look at site plans. So the more we can encourage the description and the conversation and the project in general and what that means for the different pieces of accessibility, I think that's where we're going to have the win.
Thank you, Kathy. I agree 100%. That's the point I was trying to make, is we're all going to learn every single time we look at one of these particular things, and I'm quite sure we'll get it together. And Andrew and Brooke, I'm quite sure of their knowledge and so on, they're going to educate us and put us in the right direction.
And
Deb, go
so,
ahead.
yes,
I have a question.
Okay, Brooke, go ahead.
I had a question. So as some of you guys know, I came from the Guelph Accessibility Advisory Committee, and in Guelph, maybe rules are different because it's a city, but I'm pretty sure we looked at site plans from things, because I remember one time we looked at one that had like a drive-through and we were all trying to figure out what it was going to be. So so I wasn't sure. So I'm not sure why Tim Hortons, for example, we wouldn't be looking at them, but maybe things are different. I'm not sure.
Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, sure. So under the legislation, the committee has the ability to request whatever site plans they feel they'd like to look at. We picked the ones that had the most public components just because we are a small committee, and I think if we had to look at everything, we don't have the manpower to support that, unfortunately.
That totally makes sense. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Debbie, go ahead.
yes, and thank you, Brooke, for your question, because I think we're all a little bit confused about that. Ideally, we want all our services, all our facilities to be accessible for every person, whether it's private, whether it's public, whatever it is. So I think that's the ultimate goal of AODA. So my question to the committee, listening to this conversation, is that I think we need to have a meeting regarding the hospital, and it might even have to be a meeting on its own. We have outside parking, we're going to have hall designs, washroom designs, we're going to have all of it. And what are your thoughts, committee members, on that?
Deb, might I suggest that you in your municipality, for instance, probably the first contact person in your municipality would be your chief building official.
Mhm.
If you could have the conversation with them and make sure they understand what we'd like to see and what we don't need to see, and I'm quite sure your chief building official could probably talk to the individual developer or whatever, and have a good understanding of what they need to bring to this committee and how, what format and so like that. And I think that would really help if we can start that communication in that way too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a great suggestion, because when you think of a hospital, how complex that is.
Mhm.
And you want to spend a whole day walking down every hall virtually, right?
Well, we're not architects or engineers, so that's
Right.
going to limit our scope of work. But I think we, as a committee, can really have a good understanding of what is in this East development and really make it work out good. Andy, did I see your hand up or not?
It was, but I think Brooke addressed my comments, so I'm fine,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, thanks.
Thank you. So Deb, go ahead.
Yes. So my question, Mr. Chair, is what's the next step for this, specifically around the hospital? I know I'm going to talk to the chief building official and the planner. I'll find out what you said about what do they think the committee needs to see. And when I get the information, do I reach out to Kathy to organize a meeting? Like, what's next? Okay, you're nodding your head, Kathy. Okay, because I really would like to bring it back to the committee. All right.
And to make it very clear, Debbie, is that the committee in no way, we made it very clear that we would not hold up any project because of our schedules and so on and so forth. We are going to work with who's ever bringing the proposal forward, and I'm quite sure we can do that too.
Thank you. And it's very timely. As I said, this is on the agenda, the senior management team tomorrow. I've made a note to talk specifically about the hospital because it involves many members of the senior management team. So it'll be up for discussion tomorrow. Yes, Kathy?
The other thing is we do have another meeting scheduled for January 17th. So we could definitely include something for the hospital on that agenda.
Thank you. That's awesome to know. I can go in with some more facts to the senior management team tomorrow. So we actually digressed off my little report, right?
Go ahead,
But,
Deborah.
but I think that was a really worthy conversation. You know, it started off with my apologizing for the lack of input from this group for the sidewalks, and then looking beyond the sidewalk issue to the bigger scopes. Other than that, I think I'm finished. I'm done. You have my report in front of you, and thank you.
Deborah, just a comment from the chair, and Kathy, you can hopefully back me up. Lo, you said we have a committee meeting set probably for January 17th. If it meant that we're going to hold up a development and so on because of our schedule, we can easily change that date to accommodate the people. And that's very important to get that out to your people right at the get-go.
Thank you.
With your permission, Mr. Chair, we can't change that date. We need that date for Stephanie for an age-friendly presentation, but we can definitely add in another date if we need to.
That's correct. Andy, go ahead.
I just thought when I read your progress report and sort of the milestones that you've achieved over the last year, it'd be nice if the committee just sent a word of encouragement or thanks. Yeah, it's not a large municipality population-wise, and it is growing, and they've obviously taken the task seriously. I think that's not always been the case.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Do we want, as a committee, Kathy, want to send a response back to Grey Hollands, congratulating them on their great work they're doing to date?
Thank you. I think if we just have that in the minutes and then we can forward the minutes along, that would be good. And I think Tara probably has another resolution up her sleeve for this one.
Yeah, I was hoping she would. Debbie, go ahead.
Quick question, and no pressure here at all. Of course, you know pressure is coming because I said that. I'm taking this to council, this report and compliance report, next Wednesday, December 15th, and Tara is on the call, so she knows why I'm asking this question. It would be beautiful if I could have the approved resolution in
I'm hopefully
time.
gonna finish the minutes today or tomorrow if that would help. you.
I love you, Tara,
Okay, no problem.
because then I can attach it to the agenda
Sure.
along with these reports. Thank you so much.
That's no pressure for Tara and her team.
I was trying to
Sure.
save you from even asking the questions.
Tara, please go ahead with the motion.
That the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee supports the municipality of Grey Highlands 2021 progress report.
I believe everybody heard that, I believe. Do I have someone to move to put on the floor, please?
Looks like Andrew has his hand up, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Andrew. Okay, Andrew, moved by
was-
Andrew, second by Andy? Okay, if there's no discussion on our motion before us, I'm sort of a bit lost here because I only see some of the members. I don't see everybody. That's why I'm asking for a verbal reply. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you, Deborah. So
Thank
moving
you,
on to-
Mr. Chair.
Moving on to our agenda, we're down to our Grey County website redesign presentation. Rob, you and Brad are going to do this, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and hello, committee. It's nice to be back. I haven't been in one of these for 2 or 3 years, I think. So nice to be back in the seat here. The reason Brad and I are here today is because we are in the process of redeveloping our website, grey.ca. And we wanted to get in front of you early in the process, just to let you know what our plan is on this and to give you a sneak peek about of what we're kind of looking at for design. So that's what I'm going to be going over with you today. We're not really looking for any motions or anything at this time, any actual direction, but we are certainly hoping that after we give a quick demo that maybe we could have a little bit of a conversation and ask you a few questions about some features or things that work well for you on other websites that you're aware of, and maybe that's something that we can incorporate onto grey.ca. So our purpose of redeveloping the grey.ca website is to improve our content and user experience and technical performance of the website. The thing that's keeping a fire lit to us is that our content management platform, Drupal 7, it is being discontinued at the end of 2022. So we do need to migrate to the newer platform. We could just shift all of our content over with some challenges, but we thought that this would be a better opportunity to do it the right way and kind of evaluate our content and our layout and go from there. So our vision for the new website is a high-performing, user-friendly website that is driven by the services we provide for our residents, visitors, and our stakeholders. And we need our website users to be the center of our decision-making when we're doing our design, because we need a website that's inclusive and can serve all of our residents and visitors' needs, and not necessarily serving just our internal needs, as we have kind of had a bad habit of doing in the past, designing a website for ways that we think makes sense for us. And instead we need to maybe take a public perception of it. Some of our main goals are improving layout, navigation, and accessibility overall on the website. Trying to allow users to find information more quickly so they can spend less time on our website, which is kind of maybe a little backwards from what you might think. A lot of people want visitors to spend more time on their website, but I think in our case, as the government, like a municipal government, people really want to get in, get the information they need, and get out of our sites. So we just want to make that easier for them. They're not coming over to hang out and have a good time on grey.ca. One goal of mine is to eliminate our use of PDFs as much as we can. I know we can't get away from them entirely yet, but PDFs do have a lot of accessibility challenges quite often. So that's something that if we can make it on-page content, that'll improve the accessibility and also the searchability of our website for people looking for content. And I'm hopeful that we can find opportunities to enhance our online service delivery just by finding ways that maybe we could have an online fillable form versus print off forms and various things like that. So on top of those goals, I think one of our most important considerations as well is to design our website with a mobile first vision in mind, because when we look at our website statistics, we do know that users are very much accessing websites now on their little handheld devices. They're not sitting down at a desktop computer nearly as often anymore. Now, we know that the desktop users are still there, so it has to work for both, but we're going to need to prioritize the mobile experience. So we are required as a municipality by the Information and Communication Standard of the AODA to design our website to the WCAG 2.0 AA level. I'm sure you all know, but WCAG is a set of web accessibility guidelines that helps web developers ensure that their content is accessible for users. We're meeting this, and in most places we'll be exceeding it as well, the AA standard. And we'll highlight some of those features as we are going to be going through here in a moment. We will make a lot of progress on accessibility with our website updates, but I do think it's important just for everyone to understand that there are always going to be areas of continuous improvements where we maybe can't get to that 100% level. And a lot of that does come down, I think, to the fact that people have varying needs for what their accessibility needs are, maybe what their vision levels are, or if someone has vision loss issues and the inability to hear, well, that's definitely a different accessibility need than someone who just has one or the other. And as well, just going back to PDFs, there's areas of our websites or agendas specifically where we need to include content that is given to us that we don't necessarily have control over. Sometimes those are even Ministry of Ontario documents that come to us in an inaccessible format, and we need to post those on our website by rule. So I just wanted to mention that because I know that when Kathy brought our accessibility report a few weeks or months ago, that we did flag that we did have some areas of non-compliance there. But we do have a plan for making improvements as best we can in areas where we do have that ability. So I'll ask Brad, do you want to share the screen now and we can go over a few pages?
Thing. Just give me a second here.
And Brad can speak to this, but I'll just let you know what you're looking at isn't a design web page at all. These are basically just graphics that we have hired a designer to help us create a style for our website. So none of these are clickable links or anything that you can actually really interact with. This is just kind of giving us that style guideline for what we're hoping to achieve.
Rob, did you want me to walk through here? Is this
yes,
is it
yes,
right if I take
please.
over for a bit? Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. So I'll do my best to kind of describe this website. Rob, feel free to chime in where there's pieces that I'm going to miss. But so again, we're hoping for a clean looking website. We want high contrast between the text, the font, and the background color. So what you can see right off the homepage is that we've got our logo up in the top left corner. It's a white logo, and then behind that you've got a background image where it's this particular image is people walking through a trail, and that image we're not sure exactly if we're just going to have a standard image, but it'll probably just be a random image that'll just rotate on reload. We avoided sliders, and the reason for that was for accessibility reasons. I know that they're quite popular, but they've done testing that have proven that they're not very effective, and it's kind of it's more driven by the stakeholders who enjoy them more so than the actual users that use them. So we decided to just focus on sticking with an image that kind of is pleasant to look at and gives you a good idea of what Grey County is about. To the right of that, you've got the menu items, and the menu items again are white on the darker contrasted photo. So you've got your menu, and then above there you've got kind of a sub menu, and those items are news, careers, and contact us. And we selected those because originally it was just news and contact us, because contact us is a high traffic item. And news was as well. We want to kind of draw that to our attention. The designer that we were working with was wondering, careers was another one that was a very popular page next to like road conditions. And we decided to throw that in there as well, just because it is something that a majority of the users come to. But to the right of that, we've got as you can see it, it's a high contrast I want to button, and it's yellow to really draw attention to it. And we kind of struggled with that, whether we were going to add that. That's popular on a lot of sites. We did some testing on that. We've got a tool called Crazy Egg that does tracking, like click tracking. And we saw that there wasn't a lot of use in our current one that's on our site. But we decided to leave it in to see how it would go. And if it doesn't seem to be gaining a lot of use, and once we launch the site, then we can always just remove it. And the reason for that is that we find that less is more. So if you remove some of the clutter, then maybe something else that someone's looking for is easier to find. So below that, just some tagline texts, which says, "Welcome to Grey County, your place to feel at home and naturally inspired." And then a big focus on our search. So this year, the last couple of months, we purchased a tool that does indexing on multiple pieces of content on our county site as well as other sites. And so that's why we're kind of want to focus on search, just because this tool works really well. And we're hoping to kind of just drive more and more people to use that. I feel like I'm getting a bit of feedback. I don't know if that's on my end, or does anyone else hear that, or is it just me?
No, I can hear it.
Okay. Hopefully it goes away. So below that, we've got our most popular services. And currently we've got 8 items that are that have a little icon, the title, and then some summary text. And there's actually a transition that happens when you hover over them. Again, the contrast is quite high, and we've done testing on this to make sure that this would pass accessibility. The only issue we'd have would be regarding the transition, whether or not that's going to cause a problem. But I think we'd be all right. That's where we'd probably want to get some feedback down the road to make sure that this doesn't cause any issues. Below that, there's a call to action, and what that consists of is a photo, a large photo, and then the title of the call to action with some summary text, and then a link to the item. So for example, the example here is important COVID-19 protocol update, for example. So Rob or the communication department will be able to add this information easily to the site, and they can add, if needed, multiple calls to action, and they can be situated based on priority within the page. Below that, we've got some news and stories, and there's a featured story which looks a little bit different. We've got kind of a larger photo with the title to the right and summary text, and then below that you've got 3 news items that are a little smaller. So again, you can draw attention to one particular news item while your other frequent news items would still show up based on chronological order.
Brad, may I make a comment? The point I was trying to make at our last meeting, Kathy, is that for our members and for anyone that have site problems, what I was trying to say is on your first picture, for instance, you referred to 2 or 3 different pictures given during your presentation. We spend little or no time on the actual picture itself. For instance, just a wee bit of a verbiage on the first one, there were a beautiful maintained trail with great huge trees on each side of the trail, covered with moss, ferns and flowers and so on each side of the trail. Just a bit of a description of what the picture looks like.
Okay.
I just think that would be I would think it'd be something that somebody'd like to be able to picture in their mind. Like for instance, your last picture showed 2 young people standing on a rock looking at a beautiful stream, trees each side. So just a a descriptive, in other words, to try and form that picture in the minds of people that unfortunately can't see what we're seeing. Does that make sense to you, Kathy?
It does make sense to me, but I think at this point, just to say that there is a photo with the story, because those aren't permanent pieces of the website, they're going to change. So having, I mean, there could be no picture there at this point, and just to have a that said photo, and that's all I'm thinking. Is it right now? This is just almost like a template.
No, I can appreciate that, but just the point I'm trying to make is that we can spend a bit of time on having the dialogue explaining, just saying we have a picture. Once we're done, to say have a permanent that's very good at dialect to explain what the picture is. That's all I'm trying to say.
Sure. Thanks, Dwight. Yeah, I get that.
Just on that vein as well, Dwight, I think that I will just mention that our website, it will require us anytime we're adding an image to the website that we do have to tag it with alt text, which is where it would describe, it would build in a description for those pictures. Now, there may also be circumstances where there are areas of our website where we might have a photo and it's not really contributing value to the content. So it would just be marked as decorative. So anyone using a screen reader, they wouldn't have to sit through a description of that necessarily. They would just, the reader would just bypass that.
Yep. Okay, understand.
Yeah, sorry about that. I kind of was skimming over that, mainly what Robin and Kathy described there is being a mock-up. These are actually just stock photos. They're beautiful stock photos, but they're not of Guelph County, unfortunately. I'm sure we have photos similar, I would think, Rob. But,
yeah, we have lots to pull from. We just didn't do all of that transfers with our designer since this is just a template at this stage.
And yeah, and maybe actually I'm touching a bit too long on this homepage. The main pieces that I kind of wanted to describe was the fact that our current site, it functions quite well from an accessibility standpoint. But one thing where we did kind of fall was in regards to our color, like from our brand guideline. It's our brand guidelines. The contrast of our colors is difficult to get that proper contrast just because of the colors. So there's been less use of our brand colors. They've been more of accent pieces within the site. So there should be less of those issues. And then if I scroll back up to the top here, I'm going to click on the menu up here, and you can see that it's again, there's high contrast, but it's a very clean look. So you've got, just a white mega menu, and then the background fades away. And then you were using, again, the accent color. So in this case, we're using the aqua color for the link. But again, it's nice and clean. There's lots of padding, lots of spacing. And these will make sure that these are, these follow, like for keyboard navigation, it will follow the proper tab order so that they're accessible. We also had the designer use a tool, it's called Figma. And there's a plugin for that called Stark that he was using when he was designing this mock-up. And it allows him to see in real time color contrast. So it works quite well. I think I see Brooke's hand up.
Go ahead, Brooke.
Hi, I had a question. I think at the top you were mentioning, we're talking about there's the picture and the logo, and then you said the menu. Did I hear it wrong? And because I thought you said it was kind of over the picture, or like there's writing on the picture.
Yeah, correct. You're right. And I think I maybe know where you're going with this. And I had a concern with the designer. I mentioned to him that, we've got the menu overlay on top of the image. Can we just have like a solid background for accessibility issues? So he said he did some testing and that it passed, but we did have, the nice thing was that we had him create multiple variants, different versions. So there is a version with the menu with a solid color behind it so that the
Right.
image isn't as large, but then it's definitely, it's easier to read for sure.
Could you also just move the menu off of the picture completely?
In this design, I don't know if that would be possible. We'd have to, I guess, I mean, I guess anything's possible. We'd have to resituate it. But the second option that it's provided, I think it's a good solution because it's just a solid background. And it honestly didn't look that much different. I think, I mean, if we had a vote right now, we'd probably be 50-50 or close to. So
I'm just thinking of low vision people who might find it difficult to see the writing within the picture. I'm also not sure how, so I use a screen reader because I'm pretty much fully blind. So I'm not sure how a screen reader will pick up that, whether it will describe the picture and then give you the menu, or if it will, how it will do it. So having somebody that will test a variety of screen readers with it, because I know NVDA is really popular, but I use VoiceOver, for example. Some people use JAWS. So just making sure that they will interpret that setup.
that's great. That's a great comment. And actually, yeah, that's where it'd be great to have you take a look at it once we have like a beta version of it. And we have some tools that are as well, but I mean, I feel like the best way to test is with someone who actually uses them, because when I use them, it's going to be, I don't really know what I'm doing. So compared to someone who uses it every day, that would definitely be helpful. But, yeah, I agree. And we had, I recently completed an accessibility course on web design, and they were talking that one of the main factors was keyboard navigation. I was just curious if that is the case, you run into a lot of issues, Brooke, with navigations and using your tool.
I actually haven't used, I've been using my phone or iPad a lot more, so I don't tend to do keyboard navigation as much lately, but I could, whenever you guys want testing, whatever, I could use my laptop. I have a MacBook, so I could use that to see how it works with the keyboard navigation as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
Well, another.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Another thing is that if, let's say, this might be a different area to the website, but it's still a website, but is blind people cannot do captures. Those things that the picture in the middle of it you use to sign up for something or whatever.
The captures.
Captures. Yeah.
I found, even though some sites have the audio caption, it does not work at all.
That's good to know.
Do we use captures on Gray.ca, Brad, or is that only for the back end logging in? Would there be a public use?
We do use it in a few spots. For example, affordable housing application, we were getting some spam submissions, so we added it. It's kind of I'm not a big fan of them. They're kind of a necessary evil to some degree, but I guess, when they cause issues like that, and they always state that, okay, well, they're accessible, but I've often wondered, here I'm hearing the exact opposite, which I'm not surprised.
I don't find them useful at all, because even while I'm trying to listen to the captcha to catch the words, I have a hearing impairment as well. Like I hear less than 50%. So I don't always catch the words. It's honestly like, it's really hard to focus on while you're trying to also type it out with your screen reader. I have seen some websites where they'll have like a checkbox that you can click to say like, I'm not a robot or something like that. And that seems to work for them instead of having captchas. Is that possible?
Yeah, and sorry, I should have clarified. So there's Google's got, they have, I think, 3 versions of reCAPTCHA, and the one that we use is the checkbox. I think it's version 2 or version 3. They're still called CAPTCHA for some reason. I think they'll always will be, but it's they're completely different. I should maybe show you, but yeah, it is the checkbox version. So I again, I don't know how that would, I assume you would just tab down to it or just, tap it, but I assume it's accessible. I should see if I can send you that link. You guys can take a look at it, but yeah, we
can
think of
certainly
any of our
keep that in
students.
mind for
Mhm.
sure, as we're designing that through. And I think we can, like, we'll take this feedback and we can look into some alternatives too for capture that may be out there. But maybe that checkbox is going to work for us.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, Rob, is there anywhere in particular you want me to jump to next year? On this site?
Just a program page, I think, would be a good one. Any of the
Okay.
affordable housing, maybe. Let's go to that one.
Oh, that was actually not a good one.
Oh,
Let's
that's
do,
that's the
Great
actual
Ray. Yeah.
one.
So yeah, so this is kind of an interior page, like a basic interior page. The header background image is smaller in the top. And again, it would be in this particular image, you've got a river. It looks, a close-up version of a river, and there's a sunset in the background, and it's darkened as well for the contrast issue. But I agree with you, Brooke, that probably the better way to go would be have a solid background color over top of the text. You can still have the image itself, but it would just be below that. The search again is up front and center on every page. And then below that, you have your content, and you've got your breadcrumbs to the left, which are pretty standard. And then to the right, we've got the translate button, like Google Translate. And then we've got a font increase and a font decrease. And I struggle with these options, the font increase and font decrease. I feel that most people that need the font size increase, they either can use a keyboard with Control plus or minus, or use your browser, or whatever tool you're using allows you to do it. So that's one question. I don't know whether if people want to answer that now or later, but I'm kind of curious if people actually use those. And then to the right, there's a print and a share icons. Below the content itself, the title, gray transit route, and there'll be some summary text as well. And that's mainly for search engine optimization purposes. To the left, you've got some base information like the contact us for gray transit route. So you've got an email address, and you've got the contacts, who's currently Charles Fitzsimmons in that area. And below this now, we've got a new section that'll be new to this version of the site, is the table of contents. So right off the bat, this is automatically generated based on the content that is added to the page. And any headings, currently we're going to have any heading 2 or heading 3 tags, they will be generated in this table of contents. So they're kind of like quick links. So right off the bat, there's schedules, maps, fares, payment options. Well, I guess there's schedules again, but if you were to click on these links, it would take you down to that particular section. So it's a quick way to kind of jump to that content. And to the right of this, if you were to jump down to content, there's basically a link that'll take you back to the page, to the top of the page, if you were needing to jump back up to these quick links. The content on this page, there's different types of displays of the content. So in this particular case, you've got two blocks. Each of them have an image with a title and some summary text with a link. For example, this is the one schedules, and then you can download the schedule PDF.
Brad, Kathy has a question to Kathy.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I'm just looking at the contrast for the button to go to the top.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll make a note of that. We can change that. That does, you're right. It is hard to read. And then below there, there's like this would be considered kind of like an information box. Again, these can be the colors can be changed, but in this particular one, it's an outline of a yellow, and then the actual title has a bit of a yellow underline as well. So essential info for all GTR riders, and then it's got some information about that. Below there, we've got an example of a table. So this is the fares, breakdown of the fares. So the fare, again, the title has an underline of one of our brand colors, which is the wine. So it's a nice contrast and draws your eye to that. And then the headings would be the route. And then you've got your adult fare, your student or senior fare, and your children fare. And I think I'm going to skip a few of these. This one here is a nice one. This is another kind of call to action. So this is just kind of a solid dark blue background with, in this particular case, it's got a white title for the font. And then there's again, the yellow font color, which is a nice contrast to that, to kind of draw your eye to it with the link to book online with driver's seat GTR. And below this is an example of an accordion. So the accordion has an icon. It's a wine color icon. It looks like a little map with the title Route 1 Southbound. And when expanded, it would then have a heading that is a gray background color. And again, the contrast would fulfill the obligations for the contrast ratio there. And then
Brad, I wonder if I could just get some feedback on the accordions in particular and how effective that works for people with visual impairments. I know we use it as a way to condense a lot of information so that it doesn't take up as much real estate on the page, but I just wonder if there's any feedback, if that causes any problems, because it is something that we are currently using quite frequently on gray.ca and probably intend to, if it works well, on our other websites as well.
Brooke, Andrew, any comment?
So would that be like the combo box where you click on something and then you can like flick through to what you want? I'm not sure what.
So it's basically a click to expand. So you,
okay, yeah.
So you would have the heading. Now the heading itself right here, it just says Route 1 Southbound Owen Sound to Dundalk. And then there's that little arrow, there's a little arrow to indicate that it is an accordion, which means you can click to expand. But the text isn't actually featured there to say click to expand.
Right.
So I just wasn't sure if that's something that is obvious to know that that's a feature or not.
Any of the websites that I haven't really investigated the gray.ca website too much, but any of the kind of expanding menus and stuff that I've run into on other websites, they've all been accessible as far as I could tell. So I could, if you want, like I could go and play around with gray.ca sometime this, like today or tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, and like let Kathy know if I run into any problems, just to give you an idea. And then I'm not sure what accessibility options Andrew uses, but between the two of us, maybe we could give you some of our thoughts.
Sure, maybe I can send you a few pages on the current site that would be examples of pages that use these accordions, and then we can go from there. Thank you for that, Brooke.
Andrew, any comment?
I don't really use that very often myself.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, go ahead, Brad.
Sure. So yeah, and actually one other point with the accordion is the example that I was showing previously, that was an expanded version. And so when it's expanded, the color, the font would change to the wine, but actually when it's closed, when it's collapsed, it would be just a standard, like a black. So there's kind of a visual indication when it's open, which is nice as well. And if I scroll down, some of the same kind of sections again, we've got, you know, the title and the text with the accent underlined for the title. It kind of gives you a good idea of how, you know, this is a page with quite a bit of content. And I mean, I'm scrolling quite a bit here, but it's still, to me, I don't find it overwhelming. Like I find there's a lot of spacing, a lot of padding, a good contrast with the colors. And I'm hoping that other, you know, obviously the users, when they start using it, that's the same way that they feel that, you know, it's not overwhelming as they scroll. And that's kind of the idea we want to go with is, you know, some of these pages, there's quite a bit of content on them. So we don't want to overwhelm users as they're scrolling through, and make it easy for them to kind of consume that content. So yeah, I think like that's a standard page. And at the bottom, we've got our contact information. This one was kind of, again, it was a bit of a, I shouldn't say contentious issue with the designer, but we you know, we had a conversation about I think Rob, I think maybe you brought it up. It's got the Grey County address and then a bit of a description about Grey County, and you can click for the Google map. But behind that block is the actual map of Grey County, which would probably just be an image. It wouldn't be like a Google map to interact with. But I think, Rob, were you saying something? There was something with, you were wondering about accessibility on that? Because we just had them design another one, right?
Yeah, I was just worried that you wouldn't be getting any of the detail on the map, just if it was floating more as an image in the background. And I don't know that that's something that needs to be on all pages anyways. So, and then, yeah. I think that this has probably provided a good overview of the direction that we're going, and we're certainly open to any general feedback or any like principles that you would suggest that we follow as we move forward. We will have a big task for you in 2022 when we actually get the content built and can send you a link that you can get in and navigate around and play around with. That we'll certainly be looking for your feedback and your help identifying barriers at that time. But right now, just if any members had any general suggestions, I think that would be very helpful to us. Otherwise, we will just continue to plug away, and we can come back with an update for you in a couple of months.
Thank you, Rob. Does the committee have any comments at what you've seen here today? A chat? Okay. Any comments from the committee? Kathy, I do not see any. Do you? Go ahead, Kathy.
I don't see any, but I also want to open up the comments, if it's possible, Mr. Chair, to our member municipalities as well, just in case there's something that pops up.
Yes, by all means. For some reason or other, my screen has gone, Kathy, so I know that Carly from George Bless is here. Carly, any comment?
Nothing of urgent concern. I've noted some of the discussions about, you know, visibility of text on photos. I think we do have that in some places on our Georgian Bluffs website. So something to keep in mind for us as well. And, you know, being here today and listening to the discussion is certainly helpful as we also look at our website. So great discussion.
Thank you, Carly. Kathy, can you point me, do I have any other? Debbie, go ahead. Any comments?
I think she left a message. She was stepping away for a few moments.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think if nobody's raising their hand and I'm not seeing any raised, I think we're okay to continue.
Okay, thank you. Well, Rob, you're going to, you and Brad are going to work with Brooke and send her some experimental papers and so on, we'll say.
Absolutely. We'll send some links out just to review when you do get a chance to give us feedback. I would really appreciate that. And then you certainly haven't seen the last of us. We'll be back again before you know it.
Thank you. Carly, I see your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick note. A point of curiosity for me is the accessibility of accordions. If possible, could I be apprised of how that works out and whether or not that's, you know, an accessibility concern, or really just generally, I'm interested in knowing if any of the aspects that are being tested from the greycounty.ca website become a concern. If maybe you could just keep me, you know, informed about that, and something to note for us, certainly.
So noted, Carly, thank you. So Brad and Rob, thank you very much for your presentation here today. It's just for information at this time. See no other comments, anything from our committee. I think I'll move forward with our agenda. We are no other business. I do not believe we have any new business. Our next meeting is set for January 17th. Is that correct, Kathy? Unless.
Yes, that's correct.
Here. So we've no other business here today. I'll ask for an adjournment of this meeting. And see no one, so someone to move for adjournment, please.
I can do it. It's Brooke.
Thank you, Brooke. All in favor of adjournment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I think we are now adjourned, Kathy. Thank you very much.